Hello. I would like to welcome everybody here to EIE's Professional Development. I want to welcome everybody for taking some time out of the day. I got a chance to chat with a few people. I'm glad that you have found some time to find us. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before we do, I do want to let everybody know that we are experiencing unfortunately, with Adobe, some issues with our webcams. So unfortunately, you guys cannot see my beautiful face today, but I'm very happy that you guys are all here, and it will not interfere other than the fact that you're not going to be able to see me in participating in this webinar. So we are really glad that you are here, but if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to us. I just want to give you guys a heads up. It's not your computer, it is ours if you are looking for us to be able to make some visual contact. So I just want to welcome everybody here. Our webinar today is on fostering engineering habits of mind with students. I am Marlene Guy. I'm a professional development provider here at EIE in the Museum of Science in Boston. I also have some support people here who are helping with our webinar, making sure that it runs nice and smooth. Alyssa is moderating for us today, and Matthew is helping out with some tech behind the scenes. And so I just want to give a shout out to the help from them. We're really happy that you have taken that time. We do know that everybody as a teacher is spending lots of time, especially this time of year, getting ready for the end of the year. So we're glad that you guys are here with us. So real quick, I want to just talk about the webinar goal, which is to have you guys learn EIE's engineering habits of mind and identify strategies to elicit these mindsets from students in the classroom. So before we move on and talk about this fantastic topic, I just want to give you guys a heads up that this is an interactive webinar, and we would love to have you guys interact in, for the most part, a small capacity, but we want to make sure that everybody is capable of following along and not getting stuck behind. If you look on your screen at the top, there is a little person. He looks like they are holding their hand up and raising in class. That is a drop-down box, and on the top it's got raise your hand, agree, disagree, step away. And so what I'm going to ask for all of you guys is to find that on your screen and go ahead and click the agree button, and that way we know that you are hearing everything that I am saying and that your are finding that and your system is running nice and smooth. And I'm going to have, looks like we have just about everybody. So I'm going to ask all of the people who just turned their status to agree to go ahead and clear that status. So if you went to the same pull down line, you will have clear agree, and then that way we know that everybody is all set and ready to go. Perfect. Fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and start our day by thinking about some basic ideas. So we have a question that is, what do you think our students, what skill or behavior do you most want your students to take away with them at the end of this school year? So we have a word cloud here, and we would love for you guys to type in something that you would really love to have as a skill or behavior. And this is one where putting in as many words as possible is even better. And if you see somebody who has already put in a word, you can type it again. It just makes it larger or more prominent in our word cloud. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to brainstorm some ideas that we're thinking right now that are really important to you to be able to see in your students before the end of this school year. And we're seeing lots of really great words. We're seeing problem solving and confidence, problem solving a couple of times, critical thinking, which is always important. a passion for critical thinking and exploring with empowerment. I love that word, empowerment. That's fantastic. We want our students to feel empowered in what they're doing. Tolerance, that this could be fun, absolutely. Teamwork, independent critical thinking. That's always something that we want our students to have. These are really great skills that are going to foster not only the rest of their academics, but lots of really great future projects and even as they're an adult. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to wind this down. It looks like people are slowing down with some of their answers. And so Alyssa is going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to bring this back a little bit later to have an opportunity to explore after we've had a great conversation about our experiences in regards to habits of mind. So we're going to go ahead and switch on out and go ahead and really start talking about our stuff. So just in case, I did see a little bit of familiarity with EIE. Some people who have worked with it in the past, I've even got a We Love EIE, and we always love that. But for people to feel more comfortable and we're all on an even playing field here, we want to make sure that everybody is a little aware of what we do. So engineering is elementary, or EIE, which we refer to it on a regular basis, is a research-based, standards-driven, classroom-tested curriculum that engages engineering and technology concepts and skills with elementary science topics. So this is the general gist of our programming. And so two main areas that we talk about, and we have our own internal kind of definitions, is one for technology, which is anything created by humans to solve a problem or meet a need, but then also engineers. So engineers are those people who design those technologies, so that we have some comfortability in how we think at EIE. And then to talk just briefly about all of our unit structures. So all 20 of our units follow the same structure. And so all of our units start with a prep lesson, which is technology in a bag, or tech in a bag, we might say really briefly. And this is a great opportunity for students to start thinking about technology, what a technology is, and to really understand that technologies don't always just plug into the wall, and all of the things that normally students associate with those. And then we have lesson 1, which is an engineering story. All of our stories start with a problem, and the students follow along. They're engaging, they're diverse, they're the context of what the problem is that the students are going to be asked to solving. And so it's a really great way to not only include this in having this meaningful for the students, but is a great way to sneak in some ELA minutes while you're busy incorporating engineering in the classroom. So lesson 2 is a broader view of the engineering field. For a lot of students, this is their first experience with engineering curriculum, and even some of these fields of engineering, they may never have learned the difference between a mechanical engineer and a structural engineer, or a biomedical engineer. And so they get an opportunity to not just associate this one problem, but understand another problem that this type of engineer could be working on. So that leads into our lesson 3. And so lesson 3 is always us having an opportunity to do that scientific data, so that they know how to be able to make their decisions. So this is materials exploration. They have an opportunity to really start thinking about how materials are created, their use, their purpose, their structure, and be able to help them as they finally move into lesson 4, which is the engineering design challenge. With lesson 3, it helps to even the playing field for students who may not be as familiar with materials, so that when we do get to lesson 4, they're really ready to go and engage with all of the unit and be really excited about that. So that is the generalization of our unit structure. And then we have our engineering design process. And so our engineering design process is a 5-step process. We liken it to the 5 fingers on a hand for young students. It's ask, imagine, plan, create, and improve. And you'll notice that we have our EDP. There's no arrows, there's no starting point, there's no stopping point. They can start at the ask and move to the imagine and plan, and then back to the imagine and back all the way over to create. And so it's not always starting in one place. Sometimes we have something that we want to be able to improve. If we didn't have engineers constantly wanting to improve, we would have stopped with the iPhone 1. So that's where we think about for our engineering design process. And so thinking about how all of this information relates into habits of mind. So the content of engineering in a classroom is different from what other school subjects. So it's not easy as 1, 2, 3 and fill in the bubble. Engineering is a relatively new subject in K-12 education. And there has been a lot of thought recently on the goals of engineering with students and what content and skills they will learn. So in 2006, the National Academy for Engineering and National Research Council convened a special committee to explore that question. How should K-12 engineering be taught? And they released a report that laid out a vision based on 3 principles. One was that it had to be effective classroom engineering activities, should help students develop engineering habits of mind. So they have systems thinking, creativity, optimism, collaboration, communication, and ethical considerations. So this report also notes that the 6 ways of thinking are not unique to engineering and that they're often considered essential skills for citizens of the 21st century. So building upon this, we have our NGSS Science and Engineering Practices. When these were released, engineering was included in the science standards for the first time. Our NGSS outlines 8 science and engineering standards, but really there's only 2 that are very distinctly related to engineering. So asking questions and defining problems, and constructing explanations and designing solutions. The rest of them are more geared towards the science areas. So at EIE, we think that NAE, the list of the engineering habits of mind, and the NGSS practices are great places to start. But NGSS is focused on those science practices. So we want to make sure that we have our students develop other valuable habits of mind as well. So by observing students engage in engineering activities, EIE has defined 16 engineering habits of mind. So these are there are some similarities and differences between the NGSS practices, but some of the similarities are address developing and using models and making evidence-based decisions. So differences, EIE's habit of mind identify more specific engineering practices. So persisting and learning from failure. So failure plays an important role in providing unique opportunities for learning and improving designs. And understanding the balancing criteria and constraints when solving a problem. Students see themselves as engineers. That's a really big thing. We want them to start to identify as an engineer. And so we do identify that students don't engage with every engineering habit of mind during an engineering activity, but they develop them over time, and lets participants know, that they can add these to lots of different areas, and it's not specifically, just for EIE. These are really great, again, those 21st century skills. So we are going to do some activities where you're going to have an opportunity to take these 16 habits of mind and watch some videos, and then start thinking about these habits of mind happening in the videos that you are going to watch. So we have our first video, And so our first video we have here is a little bit of a background of that information. So this is Marlene Avalos. I am very fond of the fact that Marlene is a very popular name right now. She is in a grade 5 classroom in New Jersey and is working on the unit Just Passing Through. Designing model membranes. Students are designing a membrane that allows water to pass through at a slow rate so that a frog stays moist. They are working through the imagine and plan steps of the EDP and lesson 4. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch this video. And on the left of your screen, you'll have the 16 habits of mind. So keep those in your head as you're watching the video. And then we're going to allow for about 30 seconds at the end of the video for taking into account of everybody's lag time. So for us to know that your video is all done, if you could change your status to agree when your video has finished completely. And then we're going to come back and have a little chat about our habits of mind. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video now.
Your goal is not just to pick your design. Your goal is to create the best design to make sure that the frog stays moist for a certain period of time. 6 minutes. Begin.
I'll do the sponge and the cheesecloth because the cheesecloth won't go on top, the sponge won't go on the bottom. The sponge is like silky.
But the cheesecloth get a little soakier than faster.
But I don't agree with that because, like, you know how when we put the cheesecloth, when we put the cheesecloth, it's not all of the water.
Mine's different. I put the sponge on top instead of the cheesecloth because the cheesecloth gets wetter and it pours all the water to the sponge and it drips fast.
You can put y'all two
Together.
But I put the coffee filter.
Yeah, I can put y'all.
Then we can put all of them together.
You can't put all of it together.
You can use the sponge. You can use the felt. And you can also use try the cheesecloth. See how that works now.
Those were good ideas.
Now, I will say, I'm enjoying the conversations. You guys are really trying to think about it. A lot of you are trying to compromise and work with one another.
All right, it looks like the majority of you guys have made it through that video. We've got a pretty good portion of people saying that they have agreed. And so we're going to go ahead and keep on going. So we had an opportunity to clear those off, and we're going to move on to a little bit of a poll. So in this poll, we're going to choose some of the engineering habits of mind that you observed. So thinking about that video with Marlene and how those students were working through some of those problems. So go ahead and fill in and vote on any of the habits of mind that you observed. You can vote on more than one, so feel free to plug those in, and we're gonna go ahead and give you guys a couple more seconds to fill in on this, and then we're gonna talk about some of the results. Perfect. So it looks like we're seeing lots of different answers. All right. I'm going to give you a second for one more voting. It looks like it's done, and Alyssa's going to go ahead and end that poll. And let's just take a second to talk about the results. So we see a lot of different people, but it looks like 100% on 2 different ones, which was a work effectively in teams. We definitely saw that. And being able to support each other and working in those small groups and communicate effectively. There was lots of great language talking about how they had a really great idea and encouraging that, which is always wonderful. So it's really great to see that there's lots and lots of different opportunities for these habits of mind to happen and see and visualize and experience. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to our next video. And we're going to do it a little bit differently here. So thinking about how this next video is going to support educators and thinking about our habits of mind and getting them to feel good about being able to give them different opportunities. So supporting our educators to be able, I'm just trying to pull up my pod here. Hold on one second, my friends. This whole webcam thing is making it a little challenging. Perfect. So we're going to be working on these 4 specific habits of mind. So we're going to focus specifically on see themselves as problem solvers, apply science knowledge to problem solving, and make evidence-based decisions and persist and learn from failure. So these are 4 habits of mind that we're going to be focusing on in this next video. So I would love for you to take a second and to pick one of these 4 that you would like to concentrate as you're watching our next video to be able to give you something that you're specifically looking for. So this video is Kathleen Murphy Garcia. She's got a 4th grade classroom in Massachusetts. She's working on the create and improve steps of the EDP that engage the EIE unit. The attraction is obvious, designing maglev systems. So the students are designing a system using magnets to levitate and move weights from one end of the track to the other. I'm going to let you guys know that you guys are going to have an opportunity to be able to record the evidence of the habits of mind that you are seeing. So keep that in mind. We'll do that after the video is done. And then again, reminding you to make sure that you press the agree button so that we know that you are done. We don't want to leave anybody behind if their video is lagging, but we also don't want dead time while everybody is waiting. So we're going to go ahead and Alyssa's going to start the video for us, and we'll touch back in just a minute.
Alright, so not connecting or repelling?
On a machine.
Check if that's repelling or connecting.
That's connecting.
Now we will test the magnetic levitation
Transportation system.
which looks like it's attracting me.
Are you sure?
But what I think is happening is this side there is like a different pole than this. So it's trying to slide over.
Okay.
It's on this one repelling, but it's connecting on this one.
But if you do this,
Okay, so
it's like it's not
Trying to get
staying straight.
inside there.
Yeah, it's trying to go like that.
So
it's
I
trying to
think
hop itself.
if we made it a little bit wider or lost some of the magnets that run through the middle, it would work better.
And when we improve.
Okay, ready? Yes,
We made it. We made it. We made it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. High five to everyone. Oh yeah.
All right, so that was a great opportunity for everybody to have an experience watching that video. We've gone ahead and cleared our agrees. Thank you for taking that time to be able to go through those areas. And so we want to be able to start thinking about the focus that you had on, you chose which one of the four. And so go ahead in the corresponding chat pod. So we have one for each one of the habits of mind that you could have chosen. Go ahead and add evidence to the one that you focused on in the last video to be able to support that habit of mind, what you saw there. Go ahead and take a moment to go ahead and fill that in. We've got lots of different people typing and all four of them. So thinking in that area that see themselves as problem solvers, they were asking themselves, you know, that question, what if we did? That's a really great open-ended question that they're really thinking about. We've got a couple of people who've replied in the evidence-based decisions. So talking about how the magnets were repelling on one side, but attracting on the other side. They discussed polarity, absolutely. So they were really taking that science knowledge that they had, use that evidence to be able to help them with that decision. And it's not just to see, absolutely. So a couple people here in persist and learn from failure. The boy with the glasses was able to assess why it was shifting and how to improve it, definitely. The group changed their model after they did not work and made improvements, definitely. The students were able to prove their theory by the end and felt excited about their accomplishments after initially failing. Definitely, they weren't down and distraught about not making it correct the first time. They really kept on persisting with that, which is great. And then apply science knowledge and problem solving. So they were using academic language. Does that attract? Absolutely. So that science knowledge and content comes in. They also knew about the attracting and repelling. So there was definitely some prior knowledge that was happening here. And the students really had an opportunity to be able to showcase all of that, which is really fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and we're going to keep on moving on. We are actually going to move on to our third and last video, which will give everybody an opportunity to be able to think about more explicit stuff. So we're going to be looking at the EIE 16 habits of mind, but specifically, what facilitation strategies does Steve use to elicit habits of mind from his students? So again, when we're done, you're going to click agree.
Right,
but
friends.
Steve LaBelle's class.
Let's talk.
Oh, it looks like we were having some streaming issues real quick. I just want everybody to pay attention to the 16 habits of mind that are located in the bottom corner. So that will help you in thinking about those teaching strategies that Steve uses as he is going along. We're going to go ahead and start that video now. Thank you, Alyssa.
All right, friends. Let's talk.
John was telling me why they have the beam bridge and we have the arch. He said maybe they were throwing the weights in.
So you're thinking that you guys threw in your weights?
We did.
Oh.
Well, at first, and then you told us, then Grace told us to drop them in lightly, so we had to do it all over again.
So you redid your experiment again, so this ended up being when you place...
Well, we didn't redo that one. We did all the others.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is a huge realization. They just admitted, which is fine, thank you for admitting, I love honesty, that they redid the other experiments using light weight, but they forgot to go back to the arch bridge and gently place it. Is their data off? Yes or no? Raise your hand, yes. Raise your hand, no. Did they do something different for one bridge than the rest of the bridges? Yes. So can we use their data? No, because it's not treated equally. That's a hard lesson to learn, isn't it?
All right, it looks like most people are back and had a chance to go ahead and view that information. So we're going to think about what Steve did and focus on our next area. So think about reflecting. So think about those teacher facilitation strategies. That was a really complex issue that came up in the classroom, and it was a huge realization for those students to realize that they may have not done fair testing. So if you could take a moment and highlight any facilitation strategies that we saw Steve use that help to either elicit those habits of mind or foster them or support their students creating those habits of mind as they were going through this engineering process. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to go ahead and type that information in our chat pod here. So yes, he reinforced the idea that it's okay to revise and reevaluate their data. Absolutely. That was a really important step for them to understand. And I think that it modeled for other students that is okay. And we can reevaluate that. So that persist and learn from failure, that observation. This is an open classroom to foster that kind of honesty, definitely. He helped them communicate effectively by having them clarify what they were trying to say. Definitely. That is one of those things where those students, especially in second grade, their language might not fully be there to be able to articulate what they did. So if he went and did a peer review, he asked the class if they thought the data was valid. That's a really great process, including kind of on a scientific level, so that it gives them that practice. So it was, yeah, again, checked in, see who agreed and disagreed. And then he indicated that it's okay to fail or the problems need to be set in a context. And he talked about redoing the tests, which is fantastic. So it gives them an opportunity to be able to try again, even though this first time wasn't as successful as they wanted to be. Fantastic. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to move on and talk very briefly about those engineering habits of mind and thinking about how those 16 habits of mind that we came across in the beginning has now snowballed a little bit, and thinking about now we've experienced some of them by being able to see them active in a classroom. So I'd love for you guys to come back, and we're going to pull up that word cloud that you guys created in the beginning. Some of it has been streamlined a little bit, and so Alyssa was able to download as much of the information as possible for us. So now that you can see our 16 habits of mind, I would love for you guys to take a moment and think about the comparison thing. So compare the skills and behaviors mentioned in that word cloud at the beginning to our 16 habits of mind. And so if you, on the left chat pod that says comparison, if you could do a quick comparison on what is in that chat pod to what is in our habits of mind. And I'll give you guys a moment to be able to do a quick comparison of the two. I see several people typing right now. Perfect. We've got lots of answers: problem solving, that independence versus collaboration, thinkers, absolutely. That critical thinking came up over and over again. Working together and communicating and teamwork, those are absolutely important and essential skills for students. And these are aligning a lot with some of the words that came up earlier in our professional development, definitely, which is fantastic. Awesome. As those are slowing down, I'm going to go ahead, as those few people are typing those last few things, I'm going to ask that we're going to go and think about, oh, that seemed to have disappeared on us. Give me 1 second. And so the importance, thinking about why you feel it is important for students to develop these mindsets. So on the right one, which is our importance chat pod, if once you are finished writing in that comparison part, go ahead and make a little response about what you think is important for these students to develop these mindsets. So go ahead and add that information to the chat pod on the right so we can share for others and have a quick conversation. We don't always work with people who think the same way or that they get along with. Absolutely, that is a life skill that most adults are still trying to work with. Innovation is the key to solving the problem of the future, definitely. It helps them acquire those 21st century skills, definitely. Their life skills and attributes that an employer will look for. Yep, whether they want to be an engineer or a rocket scientist or work as a chef, they're going to be needing a lot of these skills to be able to be successful in their careers. They need to be able to communicate effectively. And it taps into all learning styles. That's a really great connection for people to really think about, which is great. That is okay to fail, and it's best to learn from it. Definitely, that's always things that are really exciting. And advocate for their community. So being able to advocate for themselves is always something that we want students to feel like they can do for themselves, and then hopefully for others. Perfect. Well, that looks like that is slowing down in that area. So we're going to go ahead and keep on moving on. So we are going to have an opportunity to share some information with you guys. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys, and you guys are going to have access to, it's here, the resources, and it'll be up through the rest of the webinar that you can print this out if you wish, this is our Habits of Mind evidence sheet. So it's a tool that you guys could use to track the habits of mind present during an activity, not just explicitly an engineering one, but this is a really great tool for educators. And it can be modified for many purposes. So thinking about the NGSS practices or 21st century skills, it's a really great opportunity to be able to help with some assessments. And we have it in the download resources pod that we're sharing for you guys. And then you guys will also have it at the end of the webinar. So don't panic that you do not have that information. But we are, believe it or not, getting ready to wrap up for our time together. The other thing that we have on here is actually not only the evidence sheet, but the Habits of Mind PDF that we had at the beginning with our 16 different habits of mind to be able to support everybody and have some additional resources, which we love. And we're going to be here through the time, and it went by a little quickly, which is great. You guys had an opportunity to be able to share out, but I will be here until the close of the webinar. So won't Alyssa. We're here for any questions, but I do want to let you know as Alyssa is getting ready to send out a link to our survey at the end. We have Webinar Wednesdays, so that's what you're at today. It's from Wednesdays from 4 to 5, and so lots of different topics: STEM and ELA integration, questioning strategies, material management, and the best thing is registration is free. So you would just go to our website. You can learn more about dates and times that will be coming up. We love to have everybody come and share and learn together. And just giving you some information that this is our website, our email. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. We love to see and hear some of the really great things that you guys are working on. We have lots of people who are very familiar with EIE who are here, and then people who are a little newer, and that's okay as well. We love to hear everybody. So we want to just give everybody an opportunity. I am going to have my microphone on. If you type questions, I can verbally answer them to you. I also have Alyssa here who's going to be great with helping to type out some of our answers. We have a few questions already. The survey, if you click on the link, will either pop up in front of or behind the window. So if you don't see it right in front of you, it's probably right behind the screen that you guys are looking at right now. And we want to just thank you very much for coming to our webinar and taking time out of your busy day. Make sure you take that survey, because we do look at all of them and we make modifications to help support educators. We want to be able to help all of our educators do everything that they do day in and day out. So we are very reflective in what we do. This is the official end of our webinar. So if you don't have any questions, feel free to go ahead and take the resources and the survey. And then if you have any questions, we can work on helping to answer those questions for you. It looks like Alyssa is doing a great job in answering questions for both Kathy and Chris and Justin. I had a wonderful time with all of you guys this afternoon. Thank you so very much for coming. I am very sorry about the webcam. You got to miss out on my lovely face today, but that's all that you guys missed out on today. And yes, please do share the webinar with others. We regularly present different webinars, and we love to have new faces or familiar faces coming back and forth to different webinars. And that this is recorded, so you will be receive a thank you email. So in that thank you email, it'll contain that link to where the recording can be found. So helping to support all of you. If there was a spot maybe you missed, the video was lagging a little bit. Unfortunately, there won't be any video of me, but all of the fantastic information will be there to be able to help support all of you. Perfect. I'm so glad, Chris, that this is going to be able to sync up with some of the stuff that you're already doing. I love that you're using it for mathematical practices. So even though it's not engineering explicitly or science explicitly, you are taking it, and it is true, those 16 habits of mind really can be applied to all of our lessons that we're working with children. Absolutely. Absolutely welcome, Justin. We're so glad that you were able to come and keep on molding those young scientists. We love to have all of these young children be really excited about science and engineering and math and all of these subjects, but using those habits of mind are really, really fantastic. Thanks for joining us today, Justin. Oh, Jamie, that's so wonderful to hear. Prosthetics unit is a fantastic one. And yes, fourth graders I could see would be so invested in that problem. It makes it so relatable to them, which is fantastic. I'm so excited that they're really excited and you're excited. That's a wonderful experience. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, Justin. So, how important is reflection and further inquiry when practicing habits of mind in the classroom? So, thinking about the reflective piece, thinking about how you're taking this information and seeing themselves as engineers. So, engineers are always reflective. And so, using those processes and making evidence-based decisions, but really that reflection focuses on that persist and learn from failure. So they're reflective what they did, what they could do to try and to improve it, what went wrong. So helping students really support that. Failure is been kind of the F word for a very long time, and it's hard to see happen, but students usually bounce so back and feel so confident when they're able to independently or with just a little bit of support help solve those problems. So it falls into many different areas when you're thinking of habits of mind, but thinking about that persist and learn from failure is where I would be focusing on the importance when you're thinking of habits of mind. I hope that answered your question, Justin. Jamie, I'm going to implement habits evidence sheet for myself. I'm going to see how practice I plan. So that's a great, I'm so glad that you're going to use that resource. It's a really fantastic resource to help support students, but it's also helpful for you to be mindful, Jamie, and making sure that these areas are being focused on and you're paying attention to a lot of these really great areas that aren't necessarily on a rubric for students to be tested, but they're really great life skills for so many reasons. Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. Oh, I'm so glad that answered your question, Justin. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to add it in the chat pod. Otherwise, we are all set with our webinar. We would love to see you guys back for another webinar. Go ahead and check us out on our website to see if there's any other topics or times that interest or work for you. But we're very excited about supporting educators, and I am probably going to shut my mic off, and if there's any more questions, I can answer by typing. But if you don't have any more questions, it was wonderful to virtually meet you guys today, and look forward to hearing from you guys soon.